Hello again. The season finally starts in Europe. It's opening weekend. Classic season in Belgium begins. Are you ready for Helling and Kazijn? Let's look at the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. The first edition of the race started in 1945, then still named Omloop van Vlaanderen. Very soon, the name got changed to Omloop Het Volk. Since 2009, the race is called Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. Out of 74 editions yet, the race was won 57 times by a Belgian rider. All the other nations are a lot less successful, with Italy and the Netherlands following with 5 and 4 wins. More than one win has then only Great Britain. Which leads to the next interesting fact. In the last 10 years, the Belgian dominance is crumbling. Only 4 editions were won by Belgians. And we had 2 back-to-back winners with Ian Stannard in 2014 and 2015, and directly afterwards Greg van Avermaet in 16 and 17. The 2014 win of Stannard might be in everyone's mind, as he won out of a 4-man group with 3 Quickstep riders against him. For the record winner, we don't have Eddy Merckx here. It are with 3 wins each, Ernest Sturks in the beginning of the race, Joseph Bruyère, and most recently Peter van Petegem. And remember, who wins here is not winning the Ronde. With the history covered, let's look at the 2023 edition. These are 207 kilometers from Ghent to Ninove. In between, there are 9 Kazijn and 12 Hellingen. The first 100 kilometer looks still quite easy, with only 2 Kazijn and 1 Helling. Quite some time to get into the groove. Shortly after the first 100 kilometers, the next 20 kilometers consist of Kattenberg, Hollenweg, Haakhoek, Leeberg and Paddestraat. Afterwards, 15 kilometers of taking a breath. Then we have Valkenberg, Holleweg, Wolvenberg, Kerkrade, Chagari coming up in the next 15 kilometers. After nearly again a 10-kilometer break of difficulties, then we have in a span of 15 kilometers Molenberg, Haakhoek, Leeberg, Berendries and Elverenberg to give another chance to break things up. Another 10 kilometer of regrouping will follow then. Then we have the decisive combo of Muur-Kappelmuur and the Bosberg. The foot of the Kappelmuur climb lies 17 kilometers before the finish line. From top of the Bosberg, there are around 12 kilometers left. Now you heard a lot of names from the Kastijns and Hellings. Let's look at them in detail for the last 2 sections. The Molenberg starts up with a turn from a normal road onto a narrow cobbled road, so you already need to have a good position at the end of the last section. The climb itself is only 450 meters long and of the worst kind of cobbles. The gradient is also up to 14% steep. If splits weren't made before, gaps will be made here. The section nearly directly afterwards is the Haakhoek. It's quite an iconic picture of riding going first down on a cobbled road and then slightly uphill again. So if you got gapped before at the Molenberg, you won't come back for free. If that is not enough, it goes straight into the Leeberg. This is a normal road climb, which is around 1 kilometer long. 200 meters of it are quite steep, with up to 13%. The 500 meters afterwards are going slightly uphill. As you saw in the profile before, then it's just a short downhill part and directly into the Berendries. Berendries is a climb up a nearly straight road, 1 kilometer long, up to 10% gradient. Drop riders can still see the front of the race here. So for some it will be motivated, some will be demotivated. At the top, you are just a downhill part away from the Elverenberg. As the last of the 5 difficulties, it's not a decisive one. It is a road climb with 1.3 kilometer length and has a maximum gradient of 7%, but also a short downward part in between. It doesn't help you with coming back to the front if you are dropped. After the Elverenberg, you now have 10 kilometers time to prepare yourself for the Kappelmuur. Here we will see groups resorting, riders coming back, new attacks, whatever. Then we have the Kappelmuur. If someone mentions the Kappelmuur, I think of 2 things. First, the incredible amount of fans when it was the last climb in the Tour of Flanders, and the second one is this. For the facts of the climb, it's 1.2 kilometers long with a maximum gradient of 14%. It is all cobbled and the steeper part is at the end of the climb. And again, at the top, you are only one downhill climb away from the next difficulty, the Boosberg. Like all the climbs, the Boosberg is a bit more than the 1 kilometer long. Most of the climb is paved. With 300 meters before the top, you are in a cobbled section with 10% gradient. I hope now you have a picture in your mind when people talk about these climbs or Kazayans. And now let's go over to the start list. This race has the incredible amount of 25 teams on the start list, with all 18 virtual teams and 7 pro teams. As this is a one-day race, every team will have someone to mention here. Because of this, let me shorten this list a bit and group all the possible breakaway teams together first. This group consists for me out of Astana, Cofidis, Movistar, Arkea, Bingol, the Flanders Baloise team, and Human Powered Health. Now we go over to the teams that should also be in the category before, but there are riders I want to talk about or I probably need to talk about. Well, Vonti is only here because of my love for Lawrence Rex as a rider. His race intelligence impressed me every time I saw him race in 2021. Last year he didn't step up to his impressive performance of his Roubaix in 2021. Now he is in a team where everyone seems to step up, so I have a lot of hope in him. Bora has even 2 riders. Jordi Meus on one side seems to be one of the sprinters who can survive in a hard race. In Murcia he already showed good climbing shape, so if the Moor won't be ridden too hard, he can be there in the finale. For Pollitt, on the other hand, I think time proved that this results are based on him starting the race earlier than other riders, and then be able to hang on when they catch his group. Also here are more than one rider to talk about. First, there's Koikalera. Until 5 years ago, he was kind of a contender for top 10 in most classics. So he can give a lot of insight to his younger teammates on where to be at the front and where you can get away with not being there. As prospects, there are Bissegger, who could be the next Cancellara or just another time trialist, and Rutsch, who could be the next Pollitt or being a competent classic rider if he learned when to pull on his rain jacket. The streak of German riders to talk about goes on. Maybe there are more to come up. John Degenkolb is here, winner of Gent-Wevelgem, Paris-Roubaix, and the Tour de France stage ending in Roubaix. So an impressive rider for this kind of terrain. Only thing bothering here is that this was in 2014 and 2015. I couldn't leave a team with Stüber unmentioned. From my memory, I had the impression he always started the classics great, and then seemed to miss a bit of gas at the Ronde and Roubaix. It looks like I only remembered his 2019 season. Since 2020, he seemed to miss all of it. On his side, there are Durbridge and Pöstelberger, who are kind of the Pollitt type riders. Welcome to one of the most unlucky riders in Sepp van Marke. Since his impressive win over Tom Bohn at 2012 Omloop, it seems like he managed to get a puncture or crash in a critical situation in every race. Most of the times still coming back from it, but then missing a bit to follow the win up. Let's find out how he does it this time. Peter Sagan, Edvald Boasson-Hagen, Alexander Oos, Alexis Turgis, quite a merited lineup. In between them, they nearly have won everything in this terrain. Or as Oz, look like they could have won themselves. As mentioned at riders before, Sagan hasn't looked like he can win anything relevant for 3 years now. Maybe his announcement of ending his road career gets him motivated again. Boasson-Hagen has some more years without a win now. Or they could be the support Turgis needs to finally achieve a big win. Now we reach the teams that have to be mentioned. Here he is, Mathieu van der Poel. Oh, he's not on the list, so maybe I put him in the wrong category. Maybe not. If you want a sprinter, you don't drop over these kind of climbs, your choice should be Jasper Philipsen. On top of that, he was during parts of last season the fastest sprinter. Because of kind of bad luck, it wasn't showing in Tour de France stage wins. Bad luck means Jumbo was there. If he's not yet in the peak shape, Krag Andersen had results here in the past. They also missed their cross rider. No Wout, so also skipped them. Benoit, Van Baal, Laporte, and the newly classic rider Jan Tratnik are all no jokes. With support of Affini and Van Hooijdonk, this will be the lineup to beat all season. Looks like the old Quickstep. Speaking of Quickstep, Name-wise, they sounded a lot more scary in the past. Asgreen looked lackluster in 2020, same for Ballerini and Lampard, with the exception of Roubaix. Seneschal is most of the time reliable, but as Quickstep, you don't want reliable, you want wins. But yeah, they are Quickstep, so we'll say we'll find a way, even after Ibaguren left to Movistar. Let me phrase it like that. I'm not convinced by the duo of Naesen and Van Avermaet. The only time it paid out was at Flandern 2021. Why are they here? Omloop is the race both performed the best. Greg was only 4 times in the last 11 years out of the top 5. One of them was a 6th place. Naesen looked a bit worse, but he always at least is in Group 2. So like Quickstep, somehow they will be there in the final. I don't know how. Mohoric left quite an impression last Classics campaign. He seems a bit short of support. Milan, Pascalon and Sütterlin are not top tier support. White probably gets no domestic duties in case of a bike sprint. So Mohoric has to do in Pollitt, just not out of Pollitt reasons. King Küng has to make the race hard. With the support of Genietz, who looked also in shape at Tour de France, this seems to be feasible. As a backup, Jake Stewart made it at Omloop already to the line in 2021. Finally, another German rider I can make fun about. Or maybe not, as this race looks more like Wellens and Trentin Terra. But after his kind of attack in the finale in the Tour of Oman, maybe he can survive the couple Mühe and then I can mock his sprinting again. Wellens looked good so far this season. They may can lean into a harder race with Trentin as a backup. The for me a long time undistinguishable duo of Stuyven and Toynes. There are now 7 years of them riding together at track. Result-wise, Stuyven seemed a lot more promising the last 2 years. Toynes still seems to miss the next step in his career after his move from Baloise to Trek. Since his transformation from a time specialist to a classics rider, Campenaerts looked really strong. So I expect this from him again this year. And they have Arnaud Delis, the best lotto rider in 2022, and already having 3 wins again under his belt in 2023. Alexander Kristoff, the biggest mystery of cycling. He does things you won't expect from a big sprinter guy. After a few not as great seasons, he looked on the upswing last season. Let's see if he can do what Unix expected from him and get some results in, and not just be name value like Froome at Israel. Also, there's honorable successor in Rasmus Tiller on the list. Finally, a team that brought their cross rider. Tom Pidcock is here, together with Navarez, the first Ecuadorian North Classic rider, and Burton Turner, the biggest revelation of last season. Finally, all teams covered. And as I'm now used to looking at the wind every day due to the UAE tour, let's do it here also. Even as a parcours with multiple laps, twists and turn may not favor splits in the race due to wind. In the end, it's no Scheldeprijs or Gent-Wevelgem with long straights at the beginning. The weather will be clouded, but dry. Wind is at 13 knots. Outside of a desert, this seems to be too little to make splits. In the finale, the wind will be from the left front after the Mühe and from the front at the last kilometers. This will make the life of a small breakaway hard. The side wind, the front wind is often covered by motors. Also, we have the wind covered now, so now look at how to win the race. Let me give you an overview. I split up all teams on how big I see their win chances and what kind of finish would suit them. I only split them up if there are big differences for different leaders. Most teams I have chosen the best option. So Ineos is just Pidcock. Jumbo has all the leaders with kind of similar profiles. So I picked them in the middle between Laporte and Van Baarle. Same for Quickstep, where Ballerini or Seneschal are faster in sprint than Asgreen. In the end, it are more or less 3 tiers for me. 10 teams with a real chance of winning, Trek, Agi Dessert, Total Energy, Jayco and Israel somewhere in the middle, and 10 teams at the bottom with no real chance of winning. To be clear, someone like a Kanter can always sneak a 4th place or something. I just don't see how they are winning. Now let's finally look at my prediction. More or less, my presentation so far already showed what I guess. My guess is that a group forms at Molenberg with around 40 kilometers to go. At the end, I see 2 riders making it, and afterwards a bigger group will regroup. 10th place is for me in the described scenario of a sprint out of some kind of group underneath Judis. On 9th place, as he's a bit faster, Jasper Stuyven. On 8th place, yeah, he's a bit faster probably, but never out of a big sprinter group. It's Tom Pidcock. On 7th place, in a real sprint, probably not as fast, but after a hard race, is Yves Lampaert for me. 6th place, he even won last year's Tour of Croatia due to a sprint, is Matej Mohoric. On place 5, I picked him there for no other reason than him making always the top 5, Greg van Avermaet. On place 4, we enter the real fast guy terrain with Matteo Trentin. So who is winning the sprint of the chase group? For me, that's Christophe Laporte. So now we enter the interesting terrain of this prediction. As I predicted 2 riders to stay clear. So who will be number 2? For me, this will be Victor Campenaerts. As everyone knows, Victor Campenaerts is really slow in the sprint. So for place 1, this could be everyone. So my winner for 2023 Omloop Het Nieuwsblad will be Stefan Kühn. He even managed recently to win a time trial against Filippo Ganna. So he can do everything now. That's all for today. I hope you like this preview. If you want to see some less motivated preview content from me, you can watch my UAE2 previews.